My name is Merlene Daly. I was a councillor for 18 and a half years in the Kingston and St. Andrew Corporation. I have been around with this party for many years. I was and am still the only woman who has chaired Area Council 1 to date that I have known of. And I've served in many different capacities within the party. Most importantly, for many years, I was the only training officer that the party had. So I traveled all over the country dealing with both candidates, election day workers, and any other sector that needed to be briefed and trained and brought up to date as to how and why and when we need to do certain things so that we can be successful in this whole business of politics.
I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to this occasion to celebrate, motivate, and inspire. It is with deep appreciation that we host you this morning as you take time from your busy schedule to share with us the Generation 2000. G2K remains resolute to not only be the embodiment of more than just politics, but also to put our mark not only in Jamaica and the region, but also worldwide. As Kelly Borsheim stated, sailors often refer to their ships as she. Perhaps this is because they not only love the life she provides, but they also realize that they depend on her for their survival. And the gender affairs arm of the G2K aims to be that backbone and represent the potential of our Jamaican women and the many roles they serve as leaders, motivators, thinkers, supporters, and advocates. This occasion is important for the G2K and by extension the Gender Affairs Committee, as we find it important to celebrate and thank these ladies that have served our nation in different capacities in times when a woman's gender was seen as a limiting factor. These ladies and others have given us the inspiration and motivation to be more active and have shown that there are several different ways to serve our country than some of the avenues that have been presented and have put a face and a voice to de-gender leadership. The fact that these ladies are being appreciated shows that their strength and perseverance is by far an example that many more of us should try to replicate. The Gender Affairs Committee was put in place to address many gender issues that may arise, and we would like to take the time out to thank the men that have supported the charge along the way in several capacities. The enthusiasm that the management and the Gender Affairs Committee of G2K approach this event with is testament to the importance of the role of women in nation building. When we decided to do this event and acknowledge its importance, our anniversary month presented itself as the ideal place to put the appropriate emphasis that this event deserved. Our major challenge, however, was to first find the faction of women to appreciate. However, we decided, after much deliberations, to honor them according to periods in politics, to represent their contributions within the 50-year period and to illustrate to Jamaica and our membership that for the past decades, women have been contributing to Jamaican politics and to encourage our generation to become a part. With the many contributions that several women have made, G2K has decided to make this an annual event within its anniversary month, and we're already excited about part 2 of this event. We look forward to hearing from these ladies how they've balanced life and how they have become successful. G2K and its Gender Affairs Committee welcomes you all, and we thank you for being with us this morning. Do enjoy.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the head table, ladies, specially invited guests, I don't think I have to say much. I think Ronique said it all for Generation 2000 and the Gender Affairs Committee. So briefly, I'd just like to thank the Gender Affairs Committee. I think this was a brilliant idea. I think we should give them a round of applause. Led by Ms. Roden and overseen by VP Hamilton. I think they worked very, very hard to have us here today. I know what we're really looking forward to is to hear from the ladies. We thought this very, very important for us to do. I think part of the problem that we've had as a country is that we do not tap into our experiences enough so that we can learn from mistakes that have been made, so that we don't make them again, and so that we can properly build upon successes that we have come across. And that is what we want to do here. We really want to share in this moment and share in the stories so that we can take from them and it can make us better Jamaicans and overall better public servants. So I ask you to relax, to have a wonderful time, and I'm sure that at the end of the day, we will say it was a day well spent. Thank you.
I did not go into politics. Politics took charge of me. Probably I should give you a little how I became influenced towards the Labour Party. At a school breaking up, elementary school breaking up concert, I was given the part to play of Iris Collins, first female member of parliament. And I remember the speech when it said, Mr. Speaker, I do not want to be kicked out of government service if I got married. I think that was the first time. Of course, I didn't plan to be a member of parliament, didn't work towards it. And then one Sunday evening, Labour Party had meeting in Linstead, and Madam Rosalind was speaking, and I stood up there. I was a Sunday school teacher and stopped by it, and I said, when I grow up, I want to speak like that lady. The third one was I grew up at a shop and bar premises in Linstead. Opposite our place was the BITU office. After meetings, they would come across to the bar to drink and talk about the goodness of Sir Alexander Bustamante. And I think I was influenced towards the Labour Party from that time. Then I had a girlfriend, classmate. My auntie, who I grew with, never used to send me out to places, so I would lend her my shoes and other stuff, personal stuff. We're a good friend. And we both were looking jobs. She got a job. She never said a thing to me about it. Every day she's going to work. And when I found out that she got a job and that she was PNP, I said to myself, PNP people not good because we are so close. And she got the job and she couldn't say, Enid, you know, I got a job. Anyhow, politics was never ever in my mind. I got employment as a typist with an attorney at law in Linstead, and that I became his secretary, and he went into politics. He became a member of parliament and a minister of government, the Honorable Roy McNeil. I was elected as constituency secretary, so I worked as constituency secretary and as legal secretary up to 1967. I was like a liaison officer between himself and the constituency. I would go to branch meetings, I would take minutes, I would bring messages to him, take messages from him into the constituency when he was not able to go. On this occasion, he was looking for a councillor, for a person to run as parish councillor. So 1966. He didn't have his eyes on me, I know that, and I didn't have any idea at all about going into, being elected or whatever. And one man got up and said, lawyer, the best person to run this seat is Miss Bennett. I was shocked, believe me. It was a strong PNP seat, the Sligoville division. I was shocked. I couldn't answer, and he himself was surprised. And then everybody in the classroom said, yes, Miss Bennett. So I couldn't leave that classroom without saying yes. So I accepted it, and I ran as councillor and won the Sligoville division, winning it the first time for the Jamaica Labour Party. Now, 1967 came on, and a new Central St. Catherine constituency was created. The constituency that I was constituency secretary for and councillor was the Central St. Catherine, and a new one was created, consists of Bogwalk, Point Hill, and Red Hills Division, the Kitstertown area. My boss decided to take the original Central St. Catherine, which was known East Central St. Catherine, and as one division was cut off, the Bogwalk division. I knew only Bogwalk area. I did not know Point Hill or the Red Hills division. Again, the same thing happened. The party was looking for somebody to run, and I was selected to run for that constituency. Somebody else was interested. The mayor, the present mayor, Say King, was interested, and so the party sent somebody to go into the area to take a poll, and it came out in my favor, and Sir Alexander Bustamante told the other person that he should remain as mayor, as he was going to run me. So I ran, and I won. My opponent was the sitting councillor for Bogwalk, and he cried living eye water because he didn't believe he would win. But I felt it going through the constituency, you get a feeling, and you know that you would be successful. I must pay tribute to my previous members of parliament for that area, Mr. Tatius Golden, Oswald Douglas, Walters, and MP Henry, because they really organized the Point Hill and that section of St. Catherine to be strong labor area. So I got that support plus what I got from Bogwalk. Then came 1972. The swing was against the Labour Party. My opponent lived in the constituency. I lived in Kingston, 25 to Fix Drive was my home. And the campaign was that I did not live in the area. So I said, I cannot afford to lose this election because the confidence that Bustamante had in me, I'd have to work hard to win back at least the second term. So I sold my house, 25 to Fix Drive, bought the little one that I live in now in Linstead, which was the borderline of the constituency, and ran the election and won by 311 votes. Since then, I have been winning. I've won 7 general elections, consecutive general election, and I served for 30 consecutive years as Member of Parliament. It was hard work and a lot of personal sacrifice. However, there are times when, you feel good. Remember my 20th anniversary, and a function was organized to celebrate the occasion, and a ring was placed on my finger. This ring was placed on my finger, and that I was married to the constituency. There was a marriage ceremony performed by the former Anthony Johnson, Senator Anthony Johnson, and this ring was placed on my finger that I was married to the constituency. But I tell you this, when I retire, I got a letter from one person from the constituency and said, Miss Bennett, you cannot leave us. Remember, you are married to, to us in the constituency. So I enjoyed my term as member of parliament. As I said, it was hard. I remember the first day I went into parliament, I didn't know what I was going to talk. I was, green to the situation, but as you go along, you learn. And I tried my best. And for the party, I was elected deputy leader in 1978, first female to be elected in that position by any political party in Jamaica. And I served until 1997 when I retired. I must also say that when I was elected in 1967 as member of parliament, I served as councillor and a member of parliament until the next parish council election in 1969. I think I am the first person to serve in that position because they had to, the party had to look up the laws and stuff like that. So generally, it has been a good experience. As I said, there are a lot of personal sacrifice that you have to make. I have no biological children. The lady called me Mrs. Enid Bennett a while ago. It's not the first time that I am called. Even the other day when I was honored this, as Order of Jamaica, they put Mrs. Enid Bennett on it. I had to turn it back and tell them no, because I was so taken up with the constituency work that any admirer that came along decided that I prefer the constituency more than them. So I never got married, I never had children, but I adopted 2 children from the constituency, one 4 years old and one 5, and they are still my children up to now. And I have a grandson who is now my son. He works at the Nova Scotia Bank. So that takes care of my personal life, my children. And let me say, as member of parliament, you do get the opportunity of going abroad sometimes through the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. I am still a life member, and that I went to India, Sri Lanka, United Kingdom and the Channel Islands, Canada, and some Caribbean islands, where you get exposure to other areas, and you also meet people that ordinarily you would not meet, like the prime ministers and stuff of other countries. So, by and large, I think that is to serve your country. Well, in my time, we were working. You're not working for yourself. You're working for your country and your party. Your country, you're working for your country and your party. The pay wasn't big, but you were honored. People honor you because you are working for them. And I think this is people entering politics must understand that you don't go there for yourself. You go there to make representation for the betterment of the constituency and for a better life of the people, especially in poor constituencies where poor people live, no water, no good road, no light, no what have you. And I think we have to get back to that theme, that you're working for the development of your country, you're working for your people, and you're not working for yourself. When you get money to spend, it is taxpayers' money. It's not your money. You should not put a finger on a cent of it, because it is poor people, taxpayers' money that you are put there as watchdog to see that it is properly spent. And I will tell you this. tell you this, that people will try to influence you. Even government officials will try to influence you. I remember on one occasion I had some money at the Public Works Department, and the superintendent of police called me Lady B. Lady B, you have some money here, you know. I say, yes, and that's what I come to look about. Me not see I do anything. Me can I help you do something, you know. Just tell me I help you do something. I say, super. Thank you very much for the interest, but I have to spend this money for the people I have to give out work, and the people are expecting the money. I didn't want to embarrass him. I said to him, next time when I come back, we will talk. So I'm just telling you that you will have officials who will come to you, because once I take someone, he said to me, you know, such MP took $1 million and gone to build house up in Portland. One MP takes so much and gone. He's telling you that I am not taking any. The others have taken money. It is not a good thing. As I say, you should not allow yourself to be influenced by government servants. That is bad. That's not what you are put there for. Also, I like to say that it is hard work. You have to make up your, it's almost like a 24-hour work. I remember about 1 o'clock one night, somebody came, wake me up, just to tell me that one of my supporters was in the hospital. So, you know, you come out sometimes, morning time, people come to my house, you're not really in a good mood, you don't want to see that person. So what I do, I turn back, go inside, go into the bathroom, put on a little lipstick, come outside and give them a smile, because you do not want to hurt your people. People will come to you with all sorts of things. You don't want to hurt them. You have to be kind to them. You have to be very kind to them. Sometimes you don't like what they are saying, but you are to listen to them. I kept my constituency, as to be done, I kept my constituency by forming branches. At one stage, I had 30-odd branches. I visit the branches. I divided my constituency, like I have an office at Kitseltown, have one at Point Hill, one at Bogwalk, and when Bogwalk was cut off and Ginger Ridge put on, I had one at Ginger Ridge. So I would go to this one this Friday, the other one the next Friday, or the next Thursday. So I was able to be in contact with the people, because people in your constituency like to see you, they like to talk to you, and that is important. You have to keep it. Then I organize a beauty contest. I organize a cricket team, and I took some of my workers to beach. Like I remember taking, in those days we had the big time bus, you know, and then the country bus. I took them to Discovery Bay. Half of the people did not come out of the bus. So I wonder why. When I go back, I ask them, "You're coming out?" No, if they come out, somebody else is going to take away their seat. They don't, they don't want to go bed, you know what I mean? But I just say that you have to do things to make the constituency be active. I had small fundraising at the Bogwalk Market or at a school room, so it keeps the constituency together, and in a way, to me, it's a part of organizing. And you should not wait until election time to go to ask people to vote for you. You should go in before and let the people know you, show some sincerity. The buying of votes, I have never bought a vote in my 30 years. Never set up anything about bogus voting. Never done it. And I remember, I think it's 93 elections. One place, the bad men went in to vote, and the presiding officer sat on some of the ballots, gave the men pencil to mark, so that when those votes were counted, it was bad. Up to now, I don't know that presiding officer, but I could have lost my election because of that. Also, finally, there is also violence, because my constituency normally is a peaceful area. But on two occasions, my car with me sitting in it. Rockstone was shown on it. I only heard a guy that said, "Oh, bend down, Miss Bennett." I didn't even realize what was happening. The door jam, the stone caught the door jam. Then again, I went into a district, and a PNP man parked his truck in the road that I couldn't come out. I just sent for the police to come to take me out. Also, during the 70s, as I'm sure Ms. Grange will tell you, it was a very, very difficult time. And you're traveling along, you'd be stopped by police and soldier, gun would push up in your face, where you're going, and they try to search your car or whatever. So it can be challenging, but you have to be brave. You have to be strong. And most of all, you have to be honest and truthful to your people, because you cannot do everything. I never made any promise during my campaign except to serve. I promised to serve. That was my team. Thank you very much.
We talk about little but Talawa. You can understand the wealth of experience that lies in that small body over there.
Politics and how it came into my life. I had no intentions and no aspirations to be a politician. When I was 4 years old, I wanted to be a doctor. And nothing, and hurricanes or storms could not prevent me. And so I went and studied from 4 to 24. And at age 24, I was a doctor of medicine, and nothing could hold me in the United States because I had committed to my God and Father that my service is for the people of my country. And so I came home and joined the Jamaica government service in 1951, August. I rose to the top of the medical ladder, and for 11 years, I was then a consultant surgeon at Kingston Public Hospital, 4 of which I was the senior consultant surgeon in the island. So you can see, I had no intentions of becoming a politician. In 1968, I met the Manley family because I was called to be a consultant on the late Norman Manley for the last year of his life. And so I knew them very well. And in 1972, Michael became Prime Minister, and he asked me, would I come and do some work in the Ministry of Health rather than in the hospital. I thought about it, and then I thought, well, it was still service, and therefore I would do it. And I became a senator and the parliamentary secretary in the Ministry of Health. That was 1972, February. I started to reorganize some sections of the ministry, and above all, I took on the responsibility to continue what Jamaica Labour Party member of Minister of Health had done to form the Community Health Service. I don't know if anybody in this room know what that is. But that was the idea of having what they have in China, the barefoot doctor, that we went to the villages and trained someone in the village who was able to attend the sores of the legs and the headaches and things like that. And above all, to train the nanas so that there would be no more nana delivering babies without the knowledge of asepsis and so forth. And so from 1972, I started that program in earnest, and that took me now to the villages, to almost every village in Jamaica. I began to know the grassroots people face to face and their problems. I was enjoying my work, and whether fate or what would have it, the then Prime Minister decided that he would lead Jamaica to the, I don't know, mountain top with Castro. And so in October 1973, I said, no do. I cannot go with a government that knows no God. I knew the story about Castro telling the children, ask for ice cream, and they don't get it from God, and they got it from him. And that story impressed me very much. And so I resigned my seat as senator and resigned, I hoped, from politics. Wanted no more of it. When I resigned my seat, the then government was so angry with me that they refused to give me back my consultant post at KPH, even though the post had not been filled. Instead, I went to the University of the West Indies and joined the surgical staff for a short time. And one day I was getting in my car to drive to the university, and I could no more, I lived on Wellington Drive, and I could no more turn the car to the right. The car starts going down the road to the left. Because for the last week I had been pondering in my head that I would go and see Edward Seaga, who was then the leader of the opposition. Maybe by now you hear I'm a very religious person. And so while I'm driving down the road, I said, all right, God, you wanted me to come down this road? When I go to New Kingston, I will ask the least likely person if he knows where Edward Seaga's office is. So I came, and those days there are women driving, not very many women in the country driving, and everybody moves and gives you a little space to park. So I parked my car and I came out, and I must tell you, this was a turning point of my life. I came out of my car, opened the door to go in the building, and a big fat gentleman is sitting there. And I said to him, does Mr. Seaga have an office in this building? And he looked at me and he said, yes, ma'am, but the elevators are not working. And I said, thank God. And I turned to go through the door. And as I hit the door, he shouted at me, Madam. And I turned around. You're not so fat, you can walk up one flight. I smiled and I walked up the flight. When I got upstairs, I saw a lady with afro hairstyle behind her, not typewriter in those days, no computers. Fast, fast, fast. She didn't even look up to see who was there. After a few minutes, she says, what you want? I said, I would like to make an appointment to see Mr. Seaga. I would like 15 minutes of his time. And she looked at me, she said, for what? I said, no, I need to tell him. So she said, have a seat. She doesn't know me, she doesn't know. She said, have a seat. I sat down. After a while, she looks up from her typewriter and she says to me, and what's your name? I said, my name is Dr. Mavis Gilmore. She says, oh, just a minute. She says something on the phone, and she says, Mr. Seaga will see you today. I said, oh my God. I'm trembling now because I'm hoping all this wouldn't happen. Before I could get up to walk to his office, I met him walking up to meet me. I went in his office and we had 15 minutes of talk, and he told me about a film called The Hard Road to Travel. And we talked for a while, and then he said, we will give you another appointment to come back to talk with me. And he asked, I don't know how he did it, but in comes a lady with her pad and pen, Dr. Dorothy Carter Bradford. And she wrote the hour and the time when I could come back to see Mr. Seaga. Cut a long story short, I saw A Hard Road to Travel. He arranged for me to see the film. And when I had seen the film, I went to him and I said, anything I can do to make you the next Prime Minister of Jamaica, I will do it. And I shook his hand and I left. That was September, October, I think. Yes, about September. I heard nothing more at all from him for about 2 months. And one Saturday afternoon, my husband says to me that Mr. Seaga is on the phone for you. And I went to the phone, and he was on the phone, and he said, can you come down to the stadium right away? You can imagine, he not talked to me since that time, and now he just tells me, come to the stadium. Anyway, I went to the stadium, and he said, West Rural St. Andrew has no representative, and it is enumeration time, and if you would go up to West Rural St. Andrew and do the enumeration, and at the end of the enumeration, if the people like you and you like them, then maybe you could be the Member of Parliament. I said yes, and I did it. It was not easy work. I had moved into a constituency in which Madame Rose Leon had moved from the Labour Party to the PNP. And when she left, there was a hiatus for about 3 years, and there was 3 different sets of labor rights to meet. But the people were Madame Leon supporters, or the people who were Bully Joseph supporters, or the people who don't want anybody at all. And therefore, it was hard work. But hard work is something I thrive on. And I took on West Rural St. Andrew. I did the enumeration, and in that time I knew the districts and so forth. And I walked to at least 60% of every rural home in West Rural St. Andrew. At the end of the time when the election was called in 1976, I had to wear one size shoes larger than I wore before because my feet were always swollen. However, I won my seat in 1976 and became a member of Parliament for the Jamaica Labour Party representing West Rural St. Andrew. What does it take to win a constituency? First of all, it takes commitment. You really want to do it? You have to put everything into it. You cannot go part way. The people, the villagers, they are the ones that count. You have to make sure they know you. Jamaica is a very social country. They want to know you, they want to see your face, they want to shake your hand, they want to hear how you laugh. They want to know whether you can't laugh. You do not have to lose your principles. I am a Methodist. I don't go to rum shop. I won my election 3 times in West Rural St. Andrew. I haven't been into a bar. You don't have to lose your dignity. You have to make sure that at all times you are on your best behavior. It takes patience, repetition, above all, forgiveness. Those that don't like you and swear at you, and you will find enemies because there's another party always fighting against you. But you have to keep your balance and keep your dignity. Keep your standards. When I went to do the second election, I won 3 consecutive elections in West Rural, and I lost the Labour Party, lost it when I left. When we had a meeting like this, and we were deciding what was going to be our slogan for the next campaign, and the boys at the back of the room shouted, "For she's once, twice, 3 times a lady." And I love her. When the boys came to my office with their rags hanging out of their pocket and tell me, "You know, see," and all that language, I told them, "Just hold a minute. I don't understand what you say. And I don't like the rag in your pocket, but here's a nice clean rag, and here is a bar of soap. You go down to the river down, where the office is in Stony Hill. Go down to the river down there and get pretty and come back, and you and I will have a talk." I never told a boy to throw a stone. Certainly never told a boy to hold a gun. You don't have to lose your dignity. You don't have to lose your standards. You don't have to lose yourself. You have to expand yourself. You have to extend yourself. You have to give of your time. You can't disappoint the people. I had an office in Stone Hill Square, and I was there every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. Not at 10:15 or 11:15, at 10 o'clock. The people must depend on you. It is not the mark of a good politician who keeps the people waiting or who comes late. Coming late is a sign of self-disrespect. Because if you respect your own self, you have to respect others. And respecting time is a hallmark of your own self-respect. Don't keep the people waiting. Don't tell them you're going to come here next Thursday, and next Thursday come and nobody turns up. You can't repair that kind of damage easily. I don't want to give you today a details of how you organize a party, but that's my reputation. I'm an organizer. On election day in my constituency, every polling division has 10 cards. And there are 10 people who have names on a card who have to check off that they get those people to the poll, and when they get those people to the poll, they now turn up to a special place to get their election day paid. That's how organized I was. To the man, to the voter. I told them I was going to beat Madam Rosalie Diazon by 135 votes, I beat her by 138. Why? Because when I have the card with the 10 names on it, that happens months before the election, and I go to the polling division and call out the name and shake hands with them. So I knew the 138 extra that I would have had. It was not easy, and it is not easy. But the rewards of politics is nothing but self-satisfaction. When you are satisfied that you have done a good job, that's all the reward you're going to get. If you're going in to be rich, forget it. If you're going in it because there is some special honor, forget it. That is transient. It doesn't last. You go in it because you want to serve, and when you serve, there is a satisfaction that you get that nothing on earth can give it to you. Money can't give it to you, rank can't give it to you, holidays abroad can't give it to you, a new yacht can't give it to you. It is the mark of the dignity of the human being when he does a job that he knows is the best job that he could do. And politics demands that more than ever. Enough of me and what I have tried to do. Let me talk a little bit about our party. Our party has a reputation for respecting women. It started with the leader and founder of the party, Sir Alexander Bustamante. The way he respected, honored, and cherished Lady Bustamante is an example for the whole country. He had the first woman cabinet, first woman in the cabinet in Jamaica. And then the history of women in the Labour Party gets bigger. When Edward Seaga was in Prime Minister, it was woman time now. Almost every department you went to, you could find a woman head. Jam Pro, I can't even think of all of them. The first woman president of the Senate, Janet Grant Woodham. I can't remember all the other firsts. The promotion of women everywhere. Our party has the reputation that women are able to do a job well. If you ask Mr. Seaga, he will tell you they do some jobs better. So I am proud of the G2K, I always get it wrong, for recognizing that the women members of your party, of your group, need to get their expression and their position listened to and helped and admired. You have joined, you are working with the right party if you are concerned about and are wise enough to see the work of women. It's very amusing that today I should be talking to you, and last night I was looking at a film with Cleopatra, the only woman pharaoh, and it was most interesting. But this is a party where women have not to hide their faces. Women can be in the front line at all times, and you can be proud that you have carried on that reputation. You asked me on the paper, you want to find out if I had anything that I was very satisfied with in my work. Yes. It wasn't all the drudgery and the hardships. When I set a new standard for the physical unit of primary schools, I was proud. Go and look at it at the Halfway Tree Primary School.
Oh, I went there.
When I tried to build that, get that done in the Ministry of Education, I had every officer fighting against me. One person came and said, "You think it's a high school you're building?" And I said, "Well, if you don't build the primary schools right, the high schools will never get right. So let's start." Yes, I am proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that I got the World Bank to give money to governments for building primary schools. When I went there, the man was called Mr. Chawson. He told me, "The governments must look after primary education. I'll give you money for universities." And I picked up my handbag and I'm about to leave his office, and he called me back. And he says, "Why?" I said, "Sir, in my country, the children of doctors and lawyers are in the university. The children who want to get to the university have to get to primary." He called me back, he sat down, and he gave Jamaica the first country in the world to get money from the World Bank for primary education. A few other things I'm proud of. When I became the minister, they had a place called JSA, and nothing happened there but politics, and not a pepper tree was growing on the compound of the agricultural college. And I said it has to be closed, and we have to open a proper school. And we have to close it because the one arable bit of land the government has taken and building the school, what is it called? Jose Mata School. And that was the only agricultural land that the school had. And I said, "Well, no, that don't make sense. You can't have an agricultural college with no grounds." And this was a terrible fight, that's another story, a fight in my cabinet as well as a fight with my officers and everybody. Worst of all, a fight with the Jamaica people, former members of JSA and the newspaper. They called me the Iron Lady, and they gave me a rough time. But when you do things and do them correctly, I had gone to 2 land colleges from the United States and got the head of those colleges to do an inspection of the JSA. And they had written report to say, "This is not a college, this is a club." Those are the words right now. So I had that piece of paper. So I had no, and I'm telling you, when my cabinet was not behind me, the leader was behind me, because the leader understands the value of education. And when he wasn't here when they were really about to throw me out, and I meant to meet him at the airport when he was coming back from abroad, and he stepped off the plane and he pat me on the back and says, "Never mind, Mavis, I'm with you." And I wouldn't stop fighting until we established Pastor Gardens Agricultural College. That makes me proud. We didn't only establish it, we had already got all the foreign funding to train all the heads of all departments, whether it was agronomy or livestock or what. But that's a long story anyway, what happened. So I can name 1 or 2, and I have named those 2 for you because I think they are outstanding and you can see them yourself. Those moments made me proud. Politics is a noble way to go. Do not go into politics expecting to get something out of it. Go into politics expecting to put something into it. You are going to make sacrifices. That's the only way you can see politics. He went to prison for 18 months. Bustamante was in jail for 18 months. Those kinds of sacrifice you go through if you want to really serve. The person who served the most was crucified. So if you really serve, you're going to have rough time. As Miss Bennett said to me before she came up to speak, what politics done for me is made me a pauper. Yes, it will do that for you. And before I get down, I want to say one compliment to my friend Enid. When you have finished 30 years of politics, when you have shaken hands with kings and queens and ladies, and you're as humble as Enid Bennett, you have lived. You're a woman. And that's the last word I have. If politics makes you proud and full of pride, you have failed. I don't care what else you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marlene. Well, it's really a great pleasure for me to be here this morning and to say that I can say I'm a born and grow Labourite. And it's the first time I'm being honored in the party. So it's really a very special morning for me. And it's funny that I've always the one who is helping to organize things, to recognize people and for them to be honored and so on. I've never seen myself as the person who is to be honored. So I want to thank the ladies of the G2K, and particularly I must thank the chairperson of the Gender Affairs Committee, Renique Roden, and the entire team. Thank you very much. And of course, the president of G2K, I must thank you too, sir, and your team. Now, I must say right up front that Enid Bennett and Mavis Gilmore, the two honorable OJs, have always been two individuals that I hold in awe. The thing about the Jamaica Labour Party is it is changing a little now, but in my days, when you get active in the party, those who have paved the way, those who have held important positions, those who are role models, you treat them with the utmost respect. And I must tell you that when I became a member of the standing committee, and when I would walk into that little room around there, and I see them coming, if I'm sitting and there are no seats available, I would get up and let them have my seat. Or when I walk in that room, or if they are in a discussion and I walk in that room, I would hesitate unless I'm invited in. That's the kind of respect that we showed in those days. And I find that these days, that kind of respect for those who have served have not really been shown to the extent that it should be shown. And so today means a lot. What G2K has done today is sending a message and a signal that you are showing respect. And to you, I say, enough respect. Now, in order to save time, I won't recognize all the individuals I should recognize today. I mean, some are near and dear to me. Dorothy, Carter Bradford. I really think she should stand, and you should give her a big round of applause. There are some of us who are up front as leaders, but there are those who have worked just as hard, who have carried the Labour Party flag and who have made sacrifices and who have served well. And Dorothy Carter Bradford is one of those persons. So has Marlene, and there are many others. And I would say to G2K that this is an excellent concept, an excellent move, and I would invite you to join with the Labour Party and the women of the Labour Party to expand this concept, to make it an annual event, and to really show Jamaica that Labour Party women, built by Labour, are really excellent, excellent leaders. Now, my journey, I must tell you, I can't give you the chapter and verse. All right, you wouldn't go home today. And there are many roads I've traveled, and it's been a hard road. But when you choose to serve, no matter what you go through, you recognize that if you can't take the heat, you stay out of the kitchen. I'm a West Kingston born and bred girl. And so I come out of the bowels of the inner city. In those days, they called it the ghetto. I used to be very resentful of that because, as I would say, the uptowners and the intellectuals and the university folks would refer to my home as a ghetto. And I didn't see myself coming from what is called a ghetto. I came from poor, humble surroundings, but as people of West Kingston, we were very proud. Very proud, and we're still very proud to come from West Kingston. And anybody and everybody who has come out of West Kingston, no matter what that individual has achieved, he or she is always proud to say, I'm from West Kingston. So, what was my journey? Firstly, my mother and her team of friends were very active at the BITU headquarters on Duke Street before I was born. And they had many activities. They would create plays. My mother, because she was tall and good looking, she was always Bustamante. And they wrote plays. I don't know, you may be too young, but there was a play called Healing in the Barnyard, which Rannie Williams and Miss Lou took over. They wrote that play, and they traveled all over the place, and it was a play about the Labour Party and its history. And some of our friends have passed away. My mother is still very much alive at 86. And she is very active in Canada. She was given an award last night by the African Canadian Achievement Committee for her community service. We are foundation members of the Jamaican Canadian Association in Canada. And so I'm from a family that have always served. Now, I grew up with my grandmother, because my mother, at the age of 9, I was 9 when my mother left and went to Canada. Everybody go to Canada, go to England to make life so they can help the family back home. And so and I was close to my grandmother prior to that. So I'm one of those who my grandmother mothered me and fathered me. I was close to my father, but my father was also a shoemaker, very poor. I just knew I wasn't short of shoes, although they burned my feet. I could hardly wear them. And my mother, a dressmaker, I always had pretty dresses. I never went to bed hungry. We were very poor, but we lived in a tenement yard that we lived each other's lives. And people coming in from the country would stay at our place, and my grandmother was like everybody's mother and grandmother. Just up the road from Coronation Market. And I felt like a queen. I really felt like a queen. And the boys on the corner, I was never abused. I was never disrespected. I was always, quote, protected from whatever little incidents would happen. We didn't have major incidents in those days like we have now. But I was just up the road from Bacawal. I met Mr. Seaga personally in an interesting situation. Around me were churches, Pentecostal church, Revival church, Clapham church, all kind of churches. And I was at a revival table. It's a little girl. And Mr. Seaga was there. Because those days, Mr. Seaga worked in the area in Salt Lane and so on. He had now just entered politics. And I was at the revival table and he called me over. He said, "Come here, little girl." And I went over to him. He says, "What's your name?" And I told him my name. And we started talking and he said, "Well, you're a bright little girl." And from there, I got very active because he had just become Member of Parliament. Now, there was a place called Chocomo Lawn where my great-grandmother lived, and it was a dance hall. So now I grew up with politics around me and music. And when he bought Chocomo Lawn, he created a community center where a lot of activities would be held. The branch meetings, he set up a cultural program, and there was a Baron came, Olive Lewin came, assisted us in the cultural program. We ended up setting up a youth club called Victor's Youth Club, and out of Victor's Youth Club came the Techniques Band and the Techniques Group, and Jimmy Cliff was a part of that. Ken Booth, Stranger Cole, I could go on. Bob Marley used to come by and rehearse. And so that experience instilled in me a certain pride, further enhanced my pride of being a product of an era that was so rich in culture and so rich in love and such. It was just a great experience for me growing up. And of course, Mr. Seaga was very attentive to all of us as young people. We had to work hard too, because the structures he had put in place for the constituency, we had to play our part. Sometimes we'd work till the wee hours, and I still work till the wee hours. And he would take us to eat Chinese food in between so that we would be motivated and we'd go back to work. Now, prior to that, I went to a little prep school up the road on Bond Street, and that was Desmond Mackenzie's yard. That's where he grew up. Now, he was a little boy to me. Now that we check the age, he was not, he seemed to have been a very little boy to me at that time. but that yard was dust and dirt, but there's a little prep school in there, and I attended that little prep school. And leaving that little prep school, I ended up at another prep school on Jude Street, just across from Gordon House. It is now the area that has been decorated where you have the images of Sangster and others. And then my grandmother moved me from that school because the principal chose to punish me one day for talking in my class. And she had me hold one ear and one leg and had me standing in the sun for a while. And they moved me from the school. Ended up at All Saints. And you were at All Saints?
No, I was at St. Joseph's.
You were at, okay.
Shatona Park.
We knew each other from those days, you know. And I ended up at All Saints School. And there was a teacher there named Mrs. Wright, who really was my mentor. So my mentor really was my grandmother, Mrs. Wright at All Saints School, and then Mr. Seaga. I remember when Edwin Allen was Minister of Education and the teachers were disrespecting him. I wrote a letter, had it published in the Gleaner, that instead of the teachers strapping us, we should beat them. We should put the strap on them because they had disrespected the minister. And everybody at All Saints School turned down on me because all those teachers were PNP. They were all PNP. Anyway, eventually I moved on. I went to Gainstead. I got a scholarship from Mr. Seaga. There was a fund set up at the Ministry of Education by the Hanna family. And I got a scholarship. I went to Gainstead. 5 girls in my class, because it was originally a boys' school. 5 girls in my class. You can imagine the agony, ladies. Anyway, I eventually became head girl of Gainstead. And what was interesting, it was a real uptown school at the time. So the 4 girls, well, I made the 5th. Girls were all, long hair, and I had them short, picky hair, and that, So it would be funny at times because they're flashing their hair, and they're all, most of them light skinned, though, not all. And I'd be, fixing up my hair and saying, because I was just so proud. It was an unbelievable feeling coming out of West Kingston, where people look down on you. And because of my environment, because of how everybody loved each other and related to each other, I was so proud of who I was that when I went uptown to the school, I felt like a queen. But not all of my friends felt that way, because there was this shyness of people, young people from downtown. Very shy, they're talking and you hold your head down and that sort of thing, because they were not as exposed. Anyway, that experience was something that was wonderful. Eventually, I had to go to Canada because my mother moved from England to Canada. She applied for the entire family, and if I didn't go, it would have been an issue. It would have been a problem for them. Went to Canada. I said, I'm staying 5 years only in Canada because I want to come back to Jamaica. And went to Canada, studied, ended up at the Human Rights Commission in Ontario, got involved in the Jamaican Canadian Association, got involved in those days the Black Power movement. So I was like really militant, right? And we started a publication called Contrast, which served the black community. I was a co-founder and editor, and we would be very strident in whatever we did in Toronto, agitating for the rights of black people. At the same time, I didn't feel second class because I came out of West Kingston a very proud person until I experienced discrimination and prejudice. An experience that brought me to reality that, Jamaica is home and you really need to go back home because you're not second class there. One summer, I came home after being on the Indian Reserve in Canada and doing a lot of work. I came home for 3 weeks. I used to come home for 3 weeks every year. Mr. Seaga said to me, Babsy, I need you in Jamaica. You need to come home. I need you to help me to set up the cultural program, to reactivate or resuscitate the cultural program, which Jeanette Grant Woodham had started in West Kingston. So I needed to come home. Well, I went back to Toronto, packed my things and came back in 3 weeks. Everybody in Toronto thought I was mad. Because how can you leave? And I was at a point in Toronto now where I really was going to take off. So I came home. We lost the election shortly after that. This was 72. Yes. No. 72, no, 76 is another experience for me. 72. We lost the election. But although we lost the election, the West Kingston Cultural Program was the strongest, most dynamic community cultural program that existed in Jamaica. And to today, the marching band is still alive and well. Well, the marching band came out even from Chocomore Lawn. It moves from one generation to the next. But the Tivoli dancers, they're still the best dance company in Jamaica. Out of that experience too, we ended up with people like Dean Fraser. Many of you don't know. He came out of that program. Lloyd Parks and We the People, most of the members in that band. And so many, Michael Rose from Black Uhuru. So many of these artists. And we created employment because we had something called the Tivoli Touring Theatre, where we did the North Coast. And some of the things we did were quite interesting because we would mix the creative dancers with the traditional dancers. At times we'd end up with some spirits taking control and people end up in Mayal and all that sort of thing. But it was an experience and it was fulfilling. Now I'm saying all of this because I never ever intended to enter representational politics. Never. Some of you know Mrs. Hirsch, Daphne Hirsch. Mrs. Hirsch was the one who organized the political side because one thing Mr. Seaga always did was to take homegrown talent and use the talent in the constituency. He would get some people from outside to help, but he would groom us to take over programs. And so I was the community worker, the social worker, the cultural coordinator, and Mrs. Hirsch was the political organizer. I felt politics divide. I felt you're going to representational politics, the cut and thrust of politics where you have to go out and you have to, really you have to oppose your opponent. You have to ensure that you look good and your opponent look bad. And I felt as a young person at the time, I didn't like that. So I was like bridge over troubled waters. Even when there was division in we have break-off factions, I was the one who would go talk to them and I would come back and I would always be a mediator. Then the program was so successful that even Beverly Manley would book the touring group. I remember once we got an engagement in Gordon Town. And when we got there and we went to the address, it turned out it was the PNP headquarters up there. And everybody in the group looked at me and said, what we're going to do? I said, we're going to perform. We got a booking, we're going to perform. And we went and we organized ourselves because we're very self-contained. We traveled with our stage, we traveled with our PA system, we traveled with our set and everything. And we set up and we performed and the PMP them enjoyed themselves and everything was wonderful, right? So, Mr. Seaga, that's now the days when the politics get hot and the government decided that they had to do something about Mr. Seaga's stridency, the Labour Party's aggressiveness and stridency, and how the party was really making inroads. And at a retreat, they called a state of emergency. Now, I am a cultural coordinator, I'm a social worker. So a state of emergency is called. And they lock up Peter Whittingham, Ferdy Yap, and not yet. No, I went to the retreat. At that time, I was deputy chair of PR. Ray Miles was the chairman of PR. We went down together by road. State of emergency is called. The police come, lock up some people, and Mr. Seaga now takes me back on the helicopter with him. Ray Miles is going back by road. They hold Ray Miles. We are detaining you. And where is Babsy Grange? He says, well, I don't know. I still don't think that they're going to lock me up. I'm only a coordinator of a cultural program and a member of the PR committee. So, the following day, I went to Red Fence and to visit Peter Whittingham and to check on what was happening. There was an officer in the guard room who we knew very, very well. In fact, he was very close to Mr. McNeil, who was a former Minister of Home Affairs and a close friend of ours. And I walked in that room and he did this. And he was so scared he pretended he didn't know me. I left. We had meeting at Belmont Road a couple of nights after that. I drove out. I saw an unmarked police car. I come back in. I said, Pernell, they're coming for you. They're waiting on you. So I drove back out. Pernell drove out. Went to York Pharmacy. Pernell was in York Pharmacy. I come out. I see the car. I said, go back in. I said, Pernell, they're definitely taking you up tonight. So now I head home now. I'm living in Central Village, the Twickenham Park housing scheme. And I drove down the road, McNeil Boulevard, and I look and I see a car look like the same car down by Mr. Finley's gate. Now, Mr. Finley used to be Mr. McNeil's driver, and then he started working for Mr. Seaga. So I drove down there now. I walked in and I saw these plainclothes policemen, and I saw Finley. I said, Finley, what happened? He said, they come for me. I said, boy. All right, let me go call Mr. Seaga. And I'm turning out, and they said, where you think you're going? We come for you too. So that was a scene. That was quite a bad experience for me. I had my little daughter with me, and the man even threatened to kick her because I given her the keys to my car, and she wouldn't let it go, and that's all. Anyway, they took me to Monomar police station. Now remember, now all this time, I'm only a cultural coordinator. I'm not a politician. They took me to the Monomar police station in Spanish Town, and they accused me of all kind of things, asked me all sort of stupid questions, things I don't even know about, and then threatened to put me in a cell with some woman who cut up people and raped people and that sort of thing. Anyway, eventually, it must have been about 3 in the morning, 3, 4 in the morning, they took me to camp. And, of course, I was strip searched and, handled with a lot of disrespect and taken into a cell. Now, when I was taken into the cell, that probably is an experience. Let's welcome the leader. Leader, I was just giving a synopsis on the vacation that the PMP gave me. Anyway, what is lasting in my mind was the experience when I was taken to that cell. It's the longest corridor I've ever walked. And that room was the darkest room I've ever been in. And the 2 doors that closed behind me were the 2 heaviest, loudest sound I've ever heard. And all happened when the door was closed. There was just a peephole, and I heard the soldiers, their feet walking down the corridor. That sound and that experience will live with me forever. Now I was in solitary confinement for a few days. No radio, nothing. You don't know what is going on. You're in darkness. They took me out like 5 in the morning for exercise. I walked around the grounds. They took me to the bathroom and toilet, which had half a door, so they could see you from your legs down. And I couldn't believe it. And I remember one night I felt that they'd come for me the next day because I'm not a politician. Anyway, one night I was crying and I heard a voice, Miss Babsy, stretch up your hand because now there's a high window, with rails. Stretch up your hand. And when I stretched my hand, I felt a little transistor radio. And him said, if them find it, you can't say it's me give you. One of the soldiers gave me this transistor radio. So at least I could know what is happening. Now, if you read Purnell's book, you'll see the history, what happened with that little radio. But the way we were fed, we got a metal plate, and they would push it under the grill, and everything had the same sauce. No matter what it was, the same sauce on it. So that experience went on for a while. Every day I felt I would be out because I was not active in politics. I stayed there for 7 months, ladies and gentlemen. 7 months. Sometimes it felt like it was 9. But I was there for 7 months. And in a way, I felt like my life was wasted because I kept, if I felt that I was going to be there for 7 months, I probably would have been more productive in trying to do something. But every day I waited to be released. And that was quite an experience for me. A lot of things changed in my life. My daughter had to be sent to Canada. Just a lot of things. There's a gentleman, he's now passed, George Lazarus, who was responsible for the sports program in Tivoli. He was locked up eventually. The particulars, we couldn't get anything on which my lawyers could act. Afif Lazarus was my attorney. And, in one instance, I was guilty of distributing 7 guns to 7 men at the proposed site of the Central Village Police Station, including one Smoky Tread. I never heard those names. Another instance, I was guilty of all sorts of things. Mr. Lazarus was guilty of his association with me, who was teaching subversion to youth in West Kingston. So there wasn't enough information. They had set up a tribunal where my case could be taken to the tribunal so that I could be considered for release. Well, eventually, I remember the Christmas, Mr. Seaga sent a message to me to say, he met with Michael Manley. He asked, because he was really hurting about Mr. Lazarus and myself, he asked for us if there's any possible way we could be released for Christmas. And he sent back to tell me, Babsy, I don't think they're going to release you. I think they will release George Lazarus, but don't, hold out any hope. Well, they did release George Lazarus and put him in confinement at home, but I was not released. And of course, I bawl again because it's Christmas and I wanted to be out. My grandmother got ill. It was just a bad experience. And in detention, when they hold Purnell now, they moved me out of my cell and put me in a huge room with about 7 beds and put Purnell in my cell. And eventually they brought other women. I don't know how many of you know Pinnis. They brought Pinnis. They brought another laborite from Rima. And they brought in. So we ended up with 7 women with 1 pail. 1 pail to use. They wouldn't let us out at night, of course, to use the bathroom. So they gave us 1 pail. To the extent that we ended up demonstrating, led by Pernell, of course, about this one pail we had to use. Anyway, that's a story in itself, and I will move on. They eventually, I was an embarrassment. Canadian authorities were asking, because remember, I had come back from Canada. And one day the officer who was in charge came to me and said, if you write a letter to say that you will go to Canada, then maybe you'll be considered. What they didn't tell me was, if I wrote a letter to say I'd go to Canada, that they would tell me I can't come back. And so I wrote the letter because my parents would have had to adopt my daughter if I didn't go to Canada to take charge of her and all of that. And when I was being released, I requested to go see Mr. Seaga, and I had to go and pack my things at home in Central Village. I was accompanied by police and soldiers. Mr. Seaga asked them, when they are taking me to the airport, must take me in an unmarked car and don't have the police or soldiers in uniform. Well, they turned up for me in a marked police car, and police and soldier. They took me on the plane, they put me in a seat, and they told me goodbye, and they handed me a letter to say I could not come back to Jamaica. So I was exiled. So I have the honor of being the first female political prisoner and the first female to be exiled from Jamaica. No, it's an honor for me because it was in the name of the Jamaica Labour Party. So when the state of emergency was lifted, of course, I sneaked back in and got involved in the campaign. Those days, the campaign was something else going into the 80s. It was something else. I know when I came here, I saw some upstanding Jamaican middle-class men slinging their rifles over their shoulders because it was dangerous. It was dangerous. And the Labour Party fought a valiant fight, led by Edward Philip George Seaga. We got rid of communism, and we returned Jamaica to freedom and deliverance. Well, of course, once we won, I had to go back to Canada to sort out myself. Well, that was October 1980. Come February 1981, Mr. Seaga called me, he says, look, I'm not waiting one more day for you to come back. You have to come back right now. And I just packed my things. By then, in Canada, I had restarted my business, doing a lot of things, managing Ernest Smith, managing Dust Off Leroy Sibbles, managing Discover Carlene Davis. I mean, broke reggae in Canada, got reggae music on mainstream, promoted all kind of events, got back involved in the Jamaican Canadian Association, of which I was recording secretary in the early days, and so on. But I gave up all of that and came back to Jamaica. Worked with the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission and organized Bob Marley's funeral, did all sort of things. One day I went to the airport, to the VIP lounge, and I was told I couldn't use the lounge. As a matter of fact, I'd gone to the airport to meet someone for Mr. Seaga. And I was really embarrassed by the way I was treated. And I came back and I said, "Boy, Mr. Seaga, I can't believe that I was treated that way." He said to me, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." The next week he called me, he said, "I'm making you a senator." I said, "Really, sir?" He said, "Yes." And I was appointed to the Senate in 1983 and made a junior minister. Now remember, I still don't run a seat yet, you know. But I work very hard. I've always been someone who work hard. I work 24/7. And it is because of Mr. Seaga, the way he worked. And so during that period now, I mean, I was proud of the cabinet ministers. I was proud of Dr. Gilmore. I was proud of, everybody. And being a junior minister, I was learning. I learned a lot. And then in 85, I was made a minister of state. Continued to work very hard. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what creeped in now was some jealousy, particularly from the men, Dr. Gilmore. Because the men said, she don't run a seat. And she's being appointed and she being put, because at that time now I'm dealing with Mr. Seaga's program, working closely with Ms. Carter. Come close to election. Now remember, during all this period, Mr. Seaga is encouraging me to run a seat. Mr. Seaga, find a seat for me. I said, no, sir, I don't want to run a seat. I don't want to run a seat. We're now 8 weeks before the 1989 elections. And I'm starting to feel the pressure because those who run seats and who are ministers are complaining that I seem to have a lot of say, but I've not gone out there and experienced what it is to run a seat. Central Kingston, people keep calling me. Ryan is not going to run again. And so and one day I went to the arena and I saw a dread. And he's looking through the fence and he says, wow, I don't count with a Central Kingston. Miss Babsy just run the seat now. And then I remember that my father had a shoe business in Central Kingston. And I used to walk from Bond Street and go to Central Kingston. And I started thinking about all the things I could do for Central Kingston that Mr. Seaga had done for West Kingston. And I said, you know what? I went cut the umbilical cord because people think I can't do nothing without Mr. Seaga. And I called Ryan and 8 weeks before the election and I said, Ryan, I think I'm going to run the seat in Central Kingston. And Ryan said, you're crazy? I said, yeah, I'm going to run it. He said, you have to tell Eddie. I said, no, could you please tell Mr. Seaga for me? He said, no, you better tell him. I said, no, I can't tell him, you tell him. Well, 5 minutes after that, the phone rang. Mr. Seaga was so angry. He said, you could have had one of the best seats in Jamaica because I don't want you to run a seat and lose. And you choose to run a seat, you're going to lose. And 8 weeks before the election, you're a mad one. I didn't groom you for you to lose. And he was most upset. I said, Mr. Seaga, I want to run the seat. And even if I can't win it or I don't win it, I think I will make a difference. And I went into Central Kingston and I walked street. We had a sign that said street and lane. I walked street and lane and became the de facto MP in that seat. Ralph Brown was trembling because I could go places he couldn't go. I went because that seat was so polarized that the JLP people stay in their area and the PNP people stay in their area. You must remember the Gold Street Massacre. You must remember Green Bay. Yes. You must remember all the horrible things. One community in Central Kingston on block went to the JLP because of their experience when it was a strong PNP, as a PNP stronghold. But I went in that seat and was embraced by everybody, including the PNP, and worked closely together and could have and would have won that seat, except I was not experienced as a political organizer. And that is what we all must be aware of. You think you know it, but you don't know it. You have to really work with it to understand what it is. I mean, I walk into a polling station in the PMP stronghold, and everybody hug me and kiss me, and them I mark the X beside the head. Miss Babsy, and they mark the X beside the head. I got more votes in the PMP stronghold than any other JLP candidate, but them just give me a blight, right? But I learned from that, and for the parish council election now, I was able to create Raytown division as a safe JLP division because of my experience. The next time around, I had the seat locked. But what happened? Violence on the day when they realized they were losing the seat. People died, people lose limb, and they went in and they took the ballot boxes and they stuffed them. And so I lost at that time. So Mr. Seaga says to me, Babsy, you know, I did tell you, but anyway, we'll see. Things happen in the party. Mr. Golden leave the party. I'm helping Mr. Seaga to find a candidate for Central St. Catherine. And I'm under pressure because the people from Central Kingston have to look after, but the people from Central St. Catherine keep coming to me and calling and saying, who Mr. Seaga going to send? And then afterwards I say, we want you. And I'm saying, no, no, no. The next time I'm going to win Central Kingston, I'm staying there. One Sunday morning, Mr. Seaga called me. He says, Babsy, I found a candidate for Central St. Catherine. This is after Mr. Samuda came in the party, went to Central St. Catherine, and there were issues. This is after a number of other persons were approached. He says, I found the person, Babsy. I said, boy, I'm happy. I said, who is it? He says, you. I said, no. I can't handle Spanish Town. I don't have no money. I don't understand and know Spanish Town. Although I understand West Kingston, I hear Spanish Town is worse than West Kingston. No, sir. No, sir. He says, have you ever told me no? I said, no, I've never told you no, but I'm telling you no this time. He says, well, you're going to have to take the seat. Well, you know, I don't argue with Mr. Seaga. So I'm worried now. And of course, there were people in the party who felt I was going over there as a lamb to the slaughter. Anyway, and nobody wanted to come over and help me either, you know, because Spanish Town is a terrible place. I'm sorry to say, the leader is from Spanish Town. So, I went to Spanish Town, I had no money. Mr. Samuda one night went to a bar, it cost him $68,000. For the top, yes? At the time. I mean, when I'm telling you, Spanish Town, not an easy place. And nobody wanted it. The boys tell me that one night Mr. Samuda was going into Homestead and him hear, pow, 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 pow. And him turn and say, soon come back. He went back. But growing up in West Kingston, I'm accustomed to knowing the good, the bad, and the ugly. And Mr. Seaga felt that because I'm from the grassroots, I would not be afraid. That's the first thing. You have to be brave. And so I went to Central Kingston. Had no money. I walked every street. I went on every corner. And when we're thirsty, I buy box juice, I buy soda, we buy bulla, and we buy biscuit. And I said to my crew, I said, you walk with me, I eat what you eat. And I don't have no money, so we're going to win the seat, so I'll be in a position to help you. So let us go out there and pound the pavement. I walk day and night. On Chambers Lane, there's a sign, Babsy Grange walk at night. Because if I start in the day, but if I said to the people, I'm coming to you, if it's midnight, I'm going to them. You don't promise people, you don't say to people you're coming and you don't turn up. Right? So, I know I don't want to be much longer, but the turning point was, there was one section of Spanish Town which was now controlled by the NDM, because PMP really didn't count. You know what I mean? And when I said I don't count, I mean in numbers. I don't mean people don't count. And we went to Job Lane the evening, and the people who were with me so afraid because they said, boy, I see so-and-so there, which was the name that everybody was afraid of. And I said, don't worry. And I walked over to the person who was riding a bicycle, and he came off his bicycle, and I introduced myself. I said, I'm Babsy Grange, here representing the Labour Party. I'm here to unite the family. I understand that you love Mr. Golden, but I know you love Labour Party more. And I'm not telling you you mustn't love him. Love him all you want. I love him too. But remember, Labour Party is your foundation. And the person said to me, well, I never vote NDM yet. So who say me's NDM? And I said, all right. And walked with him down the road. Some people came around and we talked. The next day, Mr. Golden called him and said, I hear that Babsy Grange was in Job Lane. What you up to? What you up to? Come and see me. The person went to see him, and the person said to him, Mr. Golden, tomorrow we'll let you know what we're up to. He went back in the area, got the community together, called me, asked me for some paint, green paint. And they went from one corner of the community to the next and mark. Nothing changes but the weather. Labour Party forever. That was the turning point. And so, ladies and gentlemen, from 1997, I've been in that seat. And it has blood, sweat, and tears. Some terrible things have happened in there. Some good things have happened. But one thing I can tell you, that constituency has come a long way. And I will be there a little longer, but will not be there forever. But anybody who inherit that constituent, nobody is afraid to come there now. So a lot of people looking at the seat. But anybody who inherit that seat after me have to come good. And have to care about people. You have to be committed. You can't be selfish. You can't be dishonest. You have to, whatever you get to spend for the people, spend it for the people. You can't fatten your pocket. And that is what has made Enid Bennett and Mavis Gilmore successful and respected politicians. And so I say to you this afternoon that loyalty and commitment and dedication and love for the people is what will carry you through as a politician. Ladies, more of you are needed out there because you take a certain tenderness, a certain understanding, a certain warmth, a certain sincerity to politics. Don't be afraid. Go for it. My life has been given to people. I feel my youth passed me by because I grew up in this thing, so you're more occupied with doing the work rather than thinking about yourself. But I have not regretted it. And so I want to say to you this afternoon that being members of G2K is the beginning of serving the Labour Party. I've been through all the organizations. Young Jamaica, from the juvenile branch. And I would like to encourage you to look at starting juvenile branches, not just the adult branches. I was a president of the juvenile branch, Dominion Juvenile Branch. Desmond was an officer. And what the juvenile branch has done is to groom you in the politics, to make you understand what it is to be dedicated and committed and loyal more than anything else. And so if we can set up juvenile branches, there are youth clubs, but if we can look at juvenile branches, since we are resuscitating our branch structure, I would want to encourage you to take that on as a project. God bless you all. Thank you.
Women of strength, women of stamina, women who have demonstrated loyalty to the Jamaica Labour Party and to their country. Women who have demonstrated love and caring and nurturing for the people they serve.
Thank you, Marlene. Now, let me tell you, I have always been on the periphery of politics. I was always helping in the parish of St. Anne. Wherever I was needed, I would always help the Jamaica Labour Party. And I helped Michael Belnavis, and he was a candidate for the 1997 general elections. He lost by 2,107 votes to Danny Melville of the PNP. He was there still trying to organize his seat, but somehow he had a young family and business that he was more committed to at the time, and he indicated that he wanted to step down for about 2 years. But we all know that in politics you can't take any leave. There's no leave to be taken. Mr. Siaga asked me to take over and take care and take charge of the constituency. I didn't want to do it. I was very reluctant because I never wanted to be in representational politics, because I think of myself first as a social worker rather than a politician. And I agreed very unwillingly, and he said to me that I should write a letter so that he would have something on file. And I wrote one sentence letter. I hereby make application for the post of caretaker for the constituency of St. Anne Northeast. And Mr. Siaga called me to say, "Well, Shahini, this letter is a very inspiring letter. One sentence. Couldn't you have done better?" And I said, "Sir, just keep it. You want something for the file, so just keep it there." And he said, "Okay, I can't be bothered with you." But I immediately, within a week, we arranged a meeting at the St. Anne's Bay Primary School where I went on the road. I took 2 days and went on the road and met all the key persons in the constituency, persons who had been ostracized, who had been turned off, who wasn't interested, and just turned off. And I went and I asked them to come to this meeting at the St. Anne's Bay Primary School. And we had a bumper turnout. I can't forget, somebody said to me the evening, "Who you get all them old-time laborite for come back out?" And I said, well, I spoke to them and I told them that we need to get the constituency organized. We started to have meetings and we started to walk. And my constituency secretary is here. We call her Vonnie, Miss Geraldine Lignot. And let me tell you, she wasn't supporting me in the beginning. I can't forget when we went to her house, she said, "Why you bring her here? I don't want to see her." And we could understand because there were other persons there at the time. But within a week, because she was more committed to the party than she was to any individual, within a week she was on board. And today she's my right hand, my left hand. She's everything to me. I couldn't do it without Vonnie because she has always been there for me. And we started to walk. I said, we have to do some house to house and we have to do some enumeration. We didn't do any enumeration in earnest, but we started to do house to house. And then we started to hear rumblings that Danny Melville might resign. I remember I went to an area council in December of 2000, and I said to the people, December 2000, I said to the area council that if Mr. Melville steps down, I have been left there basically on my own to sink or swim. If he steps down, there will be a by-election. Because even though I say I'm a social worker, I'm a real political animal, and I saw what was coming. I said, there will be a by-election. Are we as a party prepared to contest this by-election? And, it was nobody really paid me any. It was in Christmas, so nobody paid me any mind. Well, lo and behold, by January, Danny resigned, and the by-election was upon, it was clear that he was going to resign, and the by-election was right upon us. I was going house to house, but by that time, I had gone to every house in the constituency of St. Anne Northeast, and it was a large constituency. It has been cut, so I say it was. It was the fifth largest constituency in the country and the largest with numbers on any voters list. Bearing in mind that we have 20,000 squatters in that seat. So it was a very challenging seat, but I managed to walk every day. We walked every day. And whatever town hall meetings they had, I would turn up. Wherever there was something happening where the people were involved, I was there. Because I always say to people, when you are in politics, you have to be the pulse of the people. You have to feel what the people feel. You have to eat what the people eat. You have to drink what the people, you have to walk their walk, talk their talk. So I was out there. And then the by-election, Danny resigned, and the by-election was announced. And I know that at this very headquarters, there were talks to change me because they didn't think that I was a high-profile enough candidate, that my name recognition wasn't great. And had they changed me, I would not have had a difficulty with it because I'm a party person first, a team player. So I would have remained on board and supported whoever came. But the very evening, I heard that they were going to change me in a very strange way. I was walking. I was in a place called Roadside. I was walking, and it wasn't nationwide, but it was a Cliff Hughes program, and he called to interview me. I was on the program with, because it was 3 female candidates plus Asta Black, and Barbara Clark, Carol Jackson of the PNP, Barbara Clark of the NDM, and myself, and he interviewed us. And there can be any contradictions that I won that debate hands down because of how intimate I was with the constituency and the problems that faced the people at the time. So I led the charge in that entire interview. And at the end of the interview, because we know how Cliff Hughes is, he says, Barbara Clark, will you be the candidate for the National Democratic Movement on Monday, whenever the nomination was? And she said, yes, I will be. And Carol Jackson went, ha! And they said, as if to say something is coming. He said, will you be the candidate, Mrs. Jackson, for the People's National Party? Yes, I will be. And you, Shahini Robinson, will you be the candidate for the Jamaica Labour Party? And I said, you know what? I'm a leader. And I'm going to raise the bar this afternoon. And I said, come, we're finishing this walk. It don't matter who come. We're going to finish this walk and talk to these people one more time. So come, let's go. Whoever come, we'll have an easier road. And there's, like the ladies, I said, and can't change it. And I said, we're not going to make a war about this. We're going. And I was having a meeting, a workers' meeting at the St. Anne's Way Primary School again that same evening. And when we went there, I saw David Panton, Bobby Montague, and Audley Shaw. I think they had come to say that maybe they were going to change me. But when they came there, they saw 350 workers for the St. Anne's Way division, everybody knowing which PD they were working in, canvas complete, and knew what they were doing. I think Audley made a call to the leader and said, there's no way you can change her. But had they changed me, I still would have understood and I would have stayed on the team. But, we know after that, I mean, it was a rough by-election. The campaign was intense. And I just want to say that I believe that what Mr. Siaga did for me, I don't know if he has done that for any other candidate. I don't know if he has done it for any other candidate before or after, but he was there with me for the entire campaign. I was in his vehicle every day. He made sure that I ate. He made sure that I did all the right things. And he was just, when we were campaigning, at first when we started, he was kind of tense, and then when he realized that I knew everybody and I knew where I was going, I knew the constituency like the back of my hand, you could see him becoming more relaxed. And one day I was, just before election day, I was with him and I said to the people in Content Gardens, I was in Content Gardens, and I said, remember to vote tomorrow, come out tomorrow. And then I saw a girl and I said, all right, my girl. And he said, so why you don't tell her to come and vote? I said, she's not enumerated in this seat. Her vote is in Western St. Mary. And he said, oh my God, Shahini, this is wonderful. I can't believe it. And I said, that's how I have done my canvas, sir. I know what I'm doing. And he said, this is so good. Babsy is not here, but I want to thank her for the public relations campaign that she launched and carried through for me in that by-election. No, Babsy, I was just thanking you for the public relations campaign that you launched and carried through for me in that by-election. They said that there's no product is new, but I was a new product, and she marketed me, and she marketed me well because of the marketing that she did for me. There's nowhere in Jamaica that I go that people don't know me, and it is as a result of that by-election. That by-election was very crucial to the Jamaica Labour Party, to the fortunes of the Labour Party, because we had not won anything in recent times. And I realized the burden that was on my shoulders, and I knew that we had to win this election. And I knew then that the base of the Labour Party was 7,000 votes, and the base of the PNP was 9,000 votes. So you would have had to be a very good candidate to stop those 2,000 from coming out, because we hadn't done any significant enumeration. And I felt that I had made a good enough connection with the people in the constituency that a lot of strong PNP people would not have voted against me, or some of them would have voted for me, and that did happen. You know, one day I was walking on the seaside, the old jail in St. Anne's, where Mr. Siaga said that it was the worst squatter community that he had seen since Bacawal. Those persons have subsequently been moved to a very organized and formal community. When I went there, they were living in that squalor. And a lady, she was grating some coconut, and I was passing, and I said, beg a piece of the coconut. And one of the ladies walking with me said, a PNP. And it didn't matter to me. I said, beg a piece of the coconut. And she said, take it now, Miss Robinson. And I said, where your sugar bottle there? And she said, she pointed. She didn't want to talk because she was such a PNP. She pointed. I said, I can get some of your sugar? And she just and I was walking off. I said, thank you very much. God bless you. I don't know what P you are, but when you go and vote, if you can vote for me, vote. And she laughed. And she said, Mr. Robinson, me have PNP, you know, but me go vote for you because the PNP them pass and I'll do a call to me. So I thought that I had made a sufficient connection with the people. The day of the election, that by-election, I couldn't eat. I was so tense. And about 4 o'clock, you know, I just let go and I said, Lord, it is your will. Let your will be done. Whatever happens, I will accept it. About 4 o'clock the evening. And we went back to the base where we were with Mr. Siaga. And they were listening to the results on the radio. And I couldn't come. I locked myself in a back room. I didn't want to listen. And Russell Hadid came around and said, after they knew the elections, it had been declared on every radio station, he came and he knocked and he said, honey, come out. You have won. And I said, really? And Mr. Rand Peralta said to me, sweetheart, let me be the first to call you Member of Parliament. You are the new MP. And I said, really? He said, yes. I was so tired. I was so hungry. I wanted to go to my bed. Mr. Siaga said, let's go. I said, where? Go where? On the road. And he opened a bottle of champagne and he wake me up and he said, you have taken 10 years off of my life, Shahini, let's go. And we went on the road, and I tell you, Sharon was in the PNP at the time. All the PNP were driving up from the PNP office in St. Anne's Way. Everybody's chin was on them chins. And I said, my God. And then all of a sudden I saw the most massive crowd I've ever seen in my life, and all the green bush and the flags and the people. It was like slavery had been abandoned, abolished when they came down in St. Anne's Way. And they were jubilant, and we left from St. Anne's Way, we went to Orchards. It took us about an hour and a half by car to get to Orchards that night. And so I said, where is the NDM in all of this, Mr. Siaga? He said, they're finished. I said, I believe so. And I believe that Centre Northeast, that by-election, March 8th, 2001, which is International Women's Day and Lady Bustamante's birthday. It was a wonderful birthday gift for Lady Bustamante. Babsy and myself went to see her after. I believe it really changed the fortunes of the National Democratic Movement. And I believe that's why we were able to get the former Prime Minister to come back to us, because he saw that, in fact, because they were confident that they could win Centre and Northeast. But after that by-election, that was when the work really started. Oh my God, Mr. Siaga said, I don't have a lot of money. I'm giving Tyrone $70,000. Enumerate as many people as you can with that. And we went out on a massive enumeration. And within 3 months, we enumerated 4,000 odd persons in Senegal. The people were there, but if you don't walk and meet the people, you will never know. We walked, and every time we went and we said, oh, hello, Mr. Hollis, how are you? I said, hi, Mrs. Robinson, how are you doing? I said, do you have anybody else inside? Oh, my wife is inside, and you know, my daughter is inside. Is your daughter on the list? You know, she was at university when, can we send for her? And we make a note, and Bonnie's always there making the notes, and we send for the people, and we take them down to the election office, the returning office, and we get them enumerated. It is important if you want to win an election. If you don't win enumeration, you can't win an election. And we enumerated and we put the people on the list. And I threw myself into the constituency. The constituency and the people of the constituency have become a part of my own extended family. They are my extended family. And even though I have this massive voters list, I know most persons by their name. I know them by their real name and their aliases. When I call to them, I know who they are. I know what has happened in their life. And I believe that if we're going to be good politicians, that's how a leader said so at the launch of G2K sometime the other day, that if you don't go into politics to serve, it doesn't make any sense. You have to want to serve the people, make a difference in the lives of the people. And I believe, I wouldn't say it, but if you go into Northeast Center, they can tell you that since I have been there since 2001, I've genuinely made a difference in the lives of the people that I serve. Because, my life, my mantra is if I go through one day and don't do anything for somebody, then my life is not worth living. And that's how I was raised. That's how my parents raised us. My parents' house is very close to the road, and I tell the people, I say, build me a house by the roadside so that I may help my people. My mother was the type of person who everybody would come there and ask for something, and sometimes she would say no. And then by the time they get to the gate, she said, come back. And I said, why you call back people? And she said, because it is a sin to say no when you can say yes. So I have lived my life like that, and I think I've run the constituency on that basis. Sometimes they criticize me and they say, well, Mr. Robinson, go every dead yard, Mr. Robinson, go every funeral. But the book of Romans says, when the people rejoice, rejoice with them. And when the people weep, you should weep with them. And I can't see that people would be on a truck back or a van back for me and come to Kingston, go all over the island with me, and then in their time of grief, I abandon them. I'm not going to do it, and it has served me well. When I go to a nine night, I go there and I enjoy myself. I go there and I sing and I dance. Let me tell you, I had never been to a nine night before I went into politics. I saw my parents going to funerals. I did not know about nine night. The first 5 I went to, let me tell you, I cried at one because I said, boy, I don't have enough African blood in me if you appreciate this. I really and truly said that to myself. And then I realized that it goes with the territory. So I threw myself into it. I learned all the songs. And if I go there now and it don't start, I can start it for them, because it is what, again, it is a pulse of the people. It is what the people do, and it is a part of the culture of this country. I tell you that I go to everything that the people go to. I go to dancing. I go to the dance. I mean, I got to dance, so much dance that I see a promoter take a chance that I've never seen anybody do, because I said, well, if you put a politician come into your dance, you might flop the thing, and the man put special appearance from MP Shaheen Robinson. So I said, I can't flop this one, because it's a big dance and a 16 sound playing, a 16 sound and all the big DJ them. So I said, I can't take a chance. And the man them stop the dance and give me a chance to talk. And you know why they do that? Because they know that I understand that part of their life. They know that I can talk that talk. I know what is happening in there. And they know that I run my election based. I run a very clean election. I've never called my opponent's name on a platform. I have never called my opponent's name on a platform. I don't see the reason to call it. I'm not their advertising agent, so I'm not going to call their name. They can. People can find out who is running against me in other ways, but I have no time to call their name. And I run my campaign a lot of music and a lot of things that young people like and can draw young people to. And I say, well, Mr. Robinson, you use a big tune. And I say, I say, wait tomorrow night when we draw the big. So they want to come to listen to you, if because they have to make a connection with you. Some people connected you because of, the way you speak in a church service, the way you speak at a dance, the way they see you somewhere at a graduation. But all those things are what come together to make you the person that serves them. And they must believe that, boy, I have an MP that can come and speak at the graduation and say some sensible things, an MP who can come at a funeral and console, pay a good tribute, an MP who can go to the dance and, mix with the man them and stand up on the corner and know how the things set up and deal with the people them the right way. But that is what serving people is all about. And if you are a Jamaican, I believe that you have to know about all aspects of life, all the things that affect the people. When I walk in a squatter community in my constituency, sometimes my heart is torn because I cannot do enough for the people. And I see where they have been 18 and a half years of the PNP mismanagement, and have forced people to live in subhuman conditions in this country, serious subhuman conditions. And I see it in the constituency that I represent. That is why I am relentless in my pursuit to help the people to have a better way of life in the constituency. I don't promise anybody anything. Let me tell you that. When somebody comes and say, Miss Robinson, remember, say you're on promise. I say you didn't talk to Mrs. Robinson. No, whenever they call, I say, Mr. Robinson, remember your promise? I say, you didn't talk to Mrs. Robinson. I never promise. The only thing that I've ever promised the people of Centre and Northeast is aggressive representation. And I make that representation for them. And I don't care if it was the Labour Party, when the Labour Party was in power, I was as aggressive with the ministers who were there as I would be with any PNP minister, because what I want is the best for the people of Centre and Northeast. I want to leave a mark so that people can say that Shahini Robinson was here and she served the people well. The people, people only want to be respected. People only want to be treated with respect and treated as another human being. And I try to do that because the people will tell you that even if Miss Robinson says she can't help you, she stand up and she talk to you. And I believe that is what politics is about. Talk to them, give them some hope. Explain to them what is happening in the country. Explain to them that you can't do it now, and ask them to understand. And I believe that they're all reasonable people and they do understand. I was encouraged to come into politics by men, 3 men. Kamina's husband, number 1, Tyrone Robinson and Junior Horton. 3 men encouraged me. And they said that you can do it, Shahini. And I said, I have no money. And they said, don't worry about the money. We will get the money for you. But you can do it because of the way you can deal with people. And I can't say that they were always, on the campaign trail with me, but they have always been there for me. They have always been there and they have done their part. They have carried out what they committed to do. But the bulk of the work in politics is done by women. Always done by women. And I know I have committed young men in my constituency, but I know that at any hour of the night I can call Vonnie, Lovey, Icy, Patsy, Marie. I know all the people that I can call. I know their numbers in my head. I know it because of how often I deal with them. I know that I can call them and I will always get a positive response. Sometimes they're miserable, but but they are only miserable because they want the work of the Labour Party to be carried out efficiently and effectively. And that is why I have a strong core of women around me. I have older women and I have young women. And my hope today is, when I look in this room, I say it everywhere I go, is for the emergence of some more charismatic, intelligent young women to come forward and take the baton and carry on. In Centre and Northeast, we are doing that. We are nurturing young women. We have brilliant young women that we are proud of. And our president for G2K is a woman, Farah, and Farah is here, Farah Blake, and we continue to nurture all the young women in the constituency, because I don't know, I don't know if when I step down, leader, it will be a young man or a young lady. My hope is that it will be a young woman, and I see the young women stepping up to the plate. So I believe that when we have a function such as this to honor us, I am overwhelmed, that I'm in the company of Enid Bennett, Dr. Gilmore, Babsy Grange, Marlene Daly. I mean, these are senior female politicians who have paved the way. And that's why I have to do good. I can't afford to let them down and let the work that they did go in vain. And they will be role models. They have been role models for me, and they will continue to be role models for me. When I look at Miss Enid Bennett and I see that quiet strength, every time I see her in standing committee or somewhere, I'm just overwhelmed at how she's so little, but she's so strong. And she knows what she's doing. Dr. Gilmore always makes wise interventions. And I tell you, he always. And Babsy has always been there for me. Babsy was like a mother hen when I went to Parliament. One day Colin Campbell said to me, Shaheen, you can't come to Parliament without Babsy. I said, why? The two of you push the door at the same time every week. But that's how close we were. She was there for me from the beginning. And yes. Yeah. One night I was doing an interview in here, and Mr. Siaga was telling me what to say. And I was so exhausted. I said, St. Ann Northeast is home to a lot of hotels and things. And then I just turned to him and said, what is this supposed to say? And the cameras are rolling. Mr. Siaga laughed, but we needed that sort of relief at the time. But what he did for me, I would have to say it again, I don't think he has done for any other candidate the way he was there for me. And I appreciate it. And that is why I have to continue working, because I can't let him down. The entire party was in St. Ann Northeast, Yes. Entire party was in St. Ann Northeast, because the leader has an inner city community. They put him in a tough inner city community in Otrias. He was there. Everybody was there. Mikey must have been working for the NDM. Yes, but that's how it is. That's how it is. We are on the same team now, and we have the same objectives. But it was a good experience. I'm sure they were so confident, and they got. Mr. Samuda said to me, that girl Barbara Clark is a formidable candidate. She got 1,400 votes against me. You remember? She got 1,400 votes against me. You're going to. You're in trouble. It's tight. I said, really, Mr. Sam? He said, yes. Well, she got 400 votes against me. So we know how formidable she was. She left politics after that, I think. And politics is numbers. Mr. Siaga taught me that it is numbers. It is numbers that count. And we all in Northeast St. Ann, we are mindful of those numbers. And so we attend I just want to tell the aspirants that we attend our monthly electoral meetings. I might not go every month, but my team goes, and we stay on top of the numbers, and we know who is enumerated, we know who is transferred into the constituency. We are on top of the enumeration game. And anybody who wants to run, if you don't stay on top of the enumeration game, you cannot win. Remember that my seat, only once before, in 1980, had it gone to the Jamaica Labour Party. Once before. And since 2001, I have faced the electorate 5 times. 2001, 2002, 2007, 2010, 2011, and the results have all been the same. I have won every time. And I can't thank myself, I don't thank myself. I thank the people of St. Ann Northeast who have had faith in me and who have believed in me and who have returned me. And whether it is Shahini Robinson or not, as long as I have health and strength, I'm going to make sure that St. Ann Northeast never goes back to the People's National Party. I am committed to that. And I'm going to work. And you know, that I go everywhere, anywhere anybody call me. Miss Robinson, you can come and talk. I'm all over the island. And every election, I only buckle down in my seat 1 week before the election. I don't take any chances in the years leading up to the election. That is why I can do it, because in this time now, when there is no election, we are vigilant. We do what we have to do. We are out there. We are visible, because visibility is important, is key, because the people love to say, me no see you, me no see you. If they see you last week and they don't see you the next week, they say they don't see you. So we have to be out there, and we have to remain committed to the cause of this noble party. And I am committed, my team is committed, and we are willing to help anywhere we can help, because I believe that that is what is important, that we share with one another, and we really support each other. And I just want to say, I want to sit down, but I want to say that I want to see more women coming forward. Where are the women? I see women in here from my seat, leaders. I see strong women in here from St. Anne Northeast. They may not be voting there now, but but we will get them back. That is key, to get the people on the voters list, because if they're not on the voters list, they can't help you. No whole heap of crowd behind you cannot help you. If they are not enumerated, they cannot help you. So I can't overemphasize the importance of enumeration and vigilance on your voters list, and know what is happening in the constituency or the community or the little district that you live in and that you serve. I want to say to you, go out and join all the NGOs, go out and join all the organizations. Don't make the PNP. Do like me, I control the SDC. Yeah. Yeah, I control the SDC officers in my seat, and I make sure that when they go and they form a community-based organization, that the president supports the Jamaica Labour Party, that the vice president supports the Jamaica Labour Party, that the secretary supports the Jamaica Labour Party. If the treasurer wants to be PNP, that's all right. But the key people will make the decisions, must support the Jamaica Labour Party for us to move this agenda forward. So in all things, we have to be very, very political. And in a seat like mine, I have to be political, because it is a traditional PNP seat. So we always have to make them know that it is the Jamaica Labour Party who is the member of parliament there, and it is the Jamaica Labour Party who makes the decisions in that seat, because that is key. Because we have to assert ourselves in a very positive way, without being too confrontational. Sometimes, I admit, sometimes I'm very confrontational, but it has served me well, and the people understand me, and they know that when they call a meeting, Wickham McNeil called a meeting the other day in my constituency, but they know, once I come in here and the people say, yeah, mash it up, Miss Robinson. I say, no, if it goes the way it is supposed to go, I won't mash it up. But if they start with the politics and the nonsense, I'm going to stop it. Because the tourism is too fragile and too important an industry for us to put politics in. And that is how the people in my constituency get their bread and butter. So I'm not going to allow any one man to come there and politicize the thing. So they know that I'm very vocal, and they know that the people know that the people only want a leader, The people want a leader. And once the people know that I'm strong enough to stand up to them, they accept and they follow. Let me tell you, I'm going to tell you just about this and sit down. When we had that demonstration in Steertown, that really helped to solidify me in that seat, Those people had voted almost en bloc in that by-election for the People's National Party. I got 33 votes. The PNP got 834 votes. I had not won in that seat, but they weren't accustomed to the Labour Party getting any votes. They went there before day and bulldozed the houses. The people started to block the road. I heard, and I went down there. They called me and I went. It was a massive roadblock coming right to Jackson. They saw me coming in my green shirt, and they say, yes, they felt more strength because they saw me coming. When I went there, the police superintendent in charge said to me, Mrs. Robinson, he took up the riot sheet, said, Mrs. Robinson, please come on this side, because they were about to throw tear gas. I said, please come where they were. I said, come on your side? You're going to tear gas the people? He said, yes. I said, no, man, throw your tear gas. Throw the tear gas. I'm on this side of the people, so I'm on the people's side, so throw the tear gas. And they discharged the canisters. The first 5 canisters went right back on them. So on them, so they were sort of paralyzed for a little bit before they could really get the canisters out there. But I stood with the people and I took the tear gas with the people. And I called Mr. Siaga, who was the leader at the time. Mr. Siaga came, and Babsy came, and Derek Smith came, and by helicopter, and it was awful. It was a terrible demonstration all day. But what the people knew was that I was there with them. I stood up with them. I understood that a man's house is his castle, and I don't mean if he even lives under a tree. That is where he was living, and it was all right for the PNP for them to live there. But they had been threatened in the by-election that if they didn't vote a certain way, that they stood the risk of losing the land, and that's why they moved on them to bulldoze them. Needless to say, the result the next time was 33 PNP and 834 for the Jamaica Labour Party, because I stood up with the people. Because I stood up with the people, and the people knew that they could count on me, and they still know that they can count on me. And as politicians, I'm going to sit down, but as politicians, whatever we do, trust is the biggest part of whatever you do. Let the people trust you. Thank you. God bless you as we all strive to build a better Jamaica.
Thank you and good afternoon. Merlene, it's good seeing you. I haven't seen you in a while. How are your daughters?
Beautiful, sir. One is in Belize, Deputy Solicitor General, and the other one is in British Virgin Islands.
Give them my regards. We went to school together, so you can understand why it is like mother and son and daughters. As I look at the platform, Shaheen is my sister, and the other ladies are my mothers. I apologize. I didn't get to hear, Dr. Gilmore, your presentation. I didn't get to hear yours either, Enid. But I'm sure that they were just as inspiring as the two I got to hear, which would have been Babsy's and Shaheen's. Just to make some linkages, Babsy really ushered me into politics. Mr. Siaga found me in West Kingston. Well, found me at the University of the West Indies, and then I started to work in West Kingston, and then I was invited in. But into representational politics, it was at a public relations meeting, PR committee meeting, that Babsy said, why you don't run West Central? Let me go talk to Mr. Siaga about it. And the rest, as they say, is history. And of course, when Babsy was going into Spanish Town, you're right, very few persons, if anybody, wanted to go into Spanish Town, because at that time they would say Spanish Town hot. And being from Spanish Town, I was probably one of the first and probably the only person who would have gone with Babsy into Spanish Town. It's a very difficult seat, Spanish Town. And I remember we did the tour. We started out in Munimar and ended up in Gordon Pen. And it was very costly. And I really worried for you as to how you would make it out, because it was a seat that demanded resources. But having seen how Babsy's style conquered the people, I adopted a similar approach when I decided to go into West Central St. Andrew. And I would gather from what was said here today that it is not money that wins the election. It is the trust of the people. Trust is the currency of politics. And this trust comes by, for one, you are able to relate to the people, and the people believe that you have their best interest at heart, and you respect them for who they are and where they are. And I learned that from Babsy. Respect for people. So when people come to me, I don't say no. My answer is yes until it becomes no. I don't start with no. That's advice I would give to anyone who wants to come into politics. Because politics is the art of the possible. So you can't start with no. You can't discourage people. You have to start with yes. And if it's one thing I know about Babsy, even when it look impossible, Babsy makes it possible. I don't know, you have a certain ability to find a way. Persistent, determined, but it gets done. So the truth is, if I want something to get done, I say, Babsy, try and do this for me. And I think the party owes Babsy a great deal. Maybe one day we'll pay you back. Sister Shaini, you are right. The turning point for the Labour Party started in Northeast Centre and in your constituency. And you are right. There was some talk about changing you. I was not a part of it. I was part of the team that's saying, why? Why would you want to do that? You will remember Jasmine. And she was one of your biggest supporters who was trying to say to me, Andrew, talk to them and tell her, don't change. Talk to them to tell them, don't change Shaini. Shaini's roots and she grounds with the people. And that was very important because at that time, the discussion wasn't always about getting to the pulse of the people. At that time, the discussion was you needed to have a name, you needed to have a profile. But I think since then, well, I'm hoping, and I'm certainly going to ensure that it is, that the ethos of the politics is that first and foremost, to be a candidate, you must have the people's interest at heart. So it doesn't start with your own ambitions. It doesn't start with how the ego that you can represent. It has to start, I want to represent because I want to make the people's lives better. And I think Shaheen's journey would exemplify that in a representative. When she started, it wasn't quite clear if she would win. It was the numbers, and of course Carl then was our numbers man, and the numbers weren't quite clear. But you see, I had gone through an experience that said, numbers are important, but your conviction and determination is even more important. And I saw conviction and determination in Shaheen. Merlene, just to correct you, I won the first election, lost the second one, and won the third. So I think I must have contested probably the most elections than anybody else. So I knew that with the right determination, and by the way, I went into a seat that was won many years before, and the year I won it, the election before that, by 4,000 votes. That was the margin of difference. So I knew that with hard work and determination, you can turn around a seat. And I went down. Yes, Shaheen, you're right. At the time, the impression was that I represented a garrison seat, so I understand garrison politics. So there was a little rough area, and they assigned me to that rough area. But being on the ground and the kind of campaign that we conducted, it was not a media campaign. It was a house-to-house, person-to-person campaign. And that convinced the people that we were serious about representing them. And of course, there's a backdrop of Danny what's his name again? Melville, deciding that he's so frustrated with politics he can't get anything done. And of course, you know, at 5 o'clock, I still wasn't sure whether or not we had won. But when I stepped out of the area in which I was the supervisor and we headed into the town, people were celebrating with green leaves and everything green. And they were doing the Congo around the roundabout in Ocho Town. Literally a carnival parade. And then when we went into St. Anne's Bay, I mean, it was like, as they say, Labour Party river come down bank to bank. It was an amazing experience. And that changed the fortunes, as you have said, for the Jamaica Labour Party. Babsy, your presentation on your time in detention is very important because my generation may not fully appreciate and understand what happened at the time, and we don't speak enough of it. We can't blame anybody else but ourselves. In my comments, my closing comments, and you have been a very good audience, so I'm going to be very quickly with this. In building an organization, it is not merely about putting in place the structures. That's one important part of it. G2K is an important part of the structure, and we are spending quite a bit of time trying to get the structures right. But what do you do with the structures? One of the important things that we have to do with the structure is to leverage our history, because our history gives us the base on which we launch for our future. And oftentimes, we are talking in a vacuum without any connection to our history. So a part of the role of structure in the organization is to promote our history, preserve our institutional knowledge, and to make it available. It is that history, it is that knowledge that is going to create in the minds of people the conviction to move forward. I'm sure that many of you here listening to the stories and the experiences that have been told, that you now have a greater conviction. And you probably can see yourself reflected through these ladies here and say, yes, maybe I can do it. And so I'm encouraging G2K to use your structure, your organization, to do more of this. I certainly am going to edit this and place it in social media and have it circulated. Right? We have a history that we should be proud of. We have achieved great things. We have great people who have sacrificed and worked hard for this country. They don't always get the recognition that they deserve. But I'm happy to say that the party is finally now spending the time to do things like this. For a period of time, we weren't doing anything like this. But now we are starting to do that. And that is the basis on which we will build. I'm confident that as the years go by, in fact, I count years in terms of elections. So we have, 4 more years maximum. I'm certain that by that time, we will have generated within our ranks the human resource capacity to manage and win elections. Right? That is something that is very critical and important. Ladies and gentlemen, it is therefore with great pleasure that I say I enjoyed the presentations, and I want to congratulate G2K for doing such a wonderful job in organizing this forum. Please do more and make sure to invite me.
not going to be easy to describe what happened here today because it's just so much. I am very happy that I did agree to come and do my little part because as she says, young people, I have a thing with them. I think I'm young too, so what can I say?